The English language is slippery. Words can be used by the unscrupulous to fool the unwary. The average Joe or Julie on the street doesn't spend too much time examining the meaning of words people are saying or why they're saying them. Motive, method, and opportunity. Why, how, and when. Hello YouTube denizens, it's Herc. In my opinion, the easy way to make a person religious is to get them when they're too young to know they're being got. I have to say that hearing young men and women repeat nonsense without ever thinking about what they're saying and why they're saying it is at least slightly painful to me. And as for the older folks, well, there's no fool like an old fool. I like to set parameters on my speech. I like to define my terms and stick to those definitions. And I probably inadvertently slip into familiar speech patterns anyway. For me, believing is simply accepting something as true or valid. That sounds easy, but you can get into some semantic problems very quickly. When someone says to me, "You believe just like we do. You believe the sun will come up in the morning," I have to step back and think about it. No, I don't believe the sun will come up tomorrow. Aside from the rather important fact the sun doesn't come up at all, and that the earth spins and the sun stays in pretty much the same relative position, I'm aware of the problem that our sun is very likely safe for the moment, but there are objects out there, celestial bodies, that could affect whether or not we see the sun when another day passes. So no, I don't believe that the sun will be there tomorrow, but I have a reasonable expectation that it will, based on a lifetime of experience and a knowledge that it's been happening for a very long time. So in the context of religion, I see the word belief as something used by people who actively adopt practices, rules, and lifestyles based on supernatural events that they accept as real and true. And I divide people into believers and thinkers. Sure, believers think and thinkers believe, but they tend to base what they understand about the world on one or the other. And indeed, cognitive studies seem to show that structures in the brain actually become larger or smaller depending on which path we take. I also like to separate the concepts of belief, knowledge, and certitude into categories, so that belief in religious terms is accepting the story as true. Knowledge is that which actually is true, and certitude, which is often accepted as belief, is often wrong and often mistaken as knowledge. When someone says, "I know God is real," they're expressing a strong degree of certitude, but it isn't knowledge. They don't really know any such thing, though they are certain of it. I think this is a sloppy use of words. And when I insist that my position is not only that there are no gods, but there could not be any gods because the world doesn't work by magic, I like to think that I know this as well as I know anything. I've seen how gods are made, and it's like a trip through a sausage factory. I've examined the fruits of religious beliefs and found them wanting. The world is not a better place where populations of believers squat on it. In fact, those places with the least religion seem to have the highest longevity, the best health, and the lowest crime rates, a fairer sense of economics, lower teen pregnancy rates. As a bonus, the folks there aren't nursing a delusion that steals their life, their time, and their fortune away from them. I like to say that I simply don't believe anything. That's not completely accurate, but I live in a world that's always changing. I live in a world that's somewhat uncertain. In my world, as any scientific fact is something that may change by the time the sun comes up tomorrow. In my world, any political fact is subject to change, and any bit of history may wind up on the scrap heap. Seitan Bruggencate may ask me if I may be wrong about everything I know, and I'd simply say, of course I couldn't, but I could be wrong about anything I know, and I'm not afraid to say so when it happens that I'm wrong. That's the way to be honest. When you're looking for what's real and what's true, you have to be willing to drop bits and pieces into the piles of flotsam and debris that accumulate behind you as you walk ahead. If you're lying in a coma ward and dreaming that you're watching this video, you still have to act as if it's real, because the alternative is insanity. Unless and until you wake up and realize that this was all a dream. You must realize that believing as a religion person does is all vain fantasy. Everybody wants to be somebody. As the world population reaches 7 billion, that can be very difficult to achieve. Your belief in gods, or angels, or devils doesn't really make you special, unless your use of the word special has a different meaning. Here's a fun exercise for you. Make a list of things you believe in. Leave space between them. Then think about them. Tell yourself why you believe in those things. Imagine what it would be like if you stopped believing. Imagine what it would be like if for the rest of your life you didn't believe anything without a rational explanation for it, without knowing why you'd want to believe in the first place. Thanks for listening, and even more, thanks for thinking.